Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello.
Jessica. Hello, Justin.
Hi, guys.
Mark, where are you tuning in from today?
Princeton, New Jersey.
Did you go by and get a Princeton shirt?
I didn't, but I did go this morning and walked around the pond that Einstein and Oppenheimer were walked around when Oppenheimer was creating the, the bomb
Oh,
and
see that?
the scene that
Did you
was
see
in
that
Oppenheimer.
movie?
I did see that movie, and that scene was special.
Hmm.
Princeton special. I'm from not too far from here, but my daughter lives here now, and I'm recording this morning from my daughter's place.
That's cool.
Is that near
My daughter and
where is
is
that
that
near
from where?
where in the film or maybe in the original circumstances where Oppenheimer consulted with Einstein? Like literally, is that what you said? They literally consulted together there?
That's right. I was on those
Fascinating.
grounds. I was on those hallowed grounds this morning,
Ooh.
and some of that genius, some of that dust, those particles,
Magic.
it's on me now.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I'm
That's going to be
smarter.
great for the topic.
This
Yeah.
is this is an interesting topic. Going to get your point of view from this. Speaking of being in locations, and I asked you if you got a T-shirt. I almost said get me a T-shirt, and then I was reminded that I don't feel like I can wear something if I haven't been there. Do you feel that way also?
Yes. I
So,
also feel like I don't want to wear I lived near New Haven, so it'd be natural to grab a Yale hat.
yeah,
But I don't have a connection to Yale. I'm not, it's not my alma mater. I have friends that went there, but it just doesn't seem, I could, but then somebody's going to ask me, and then they're going to realize it's not possible that he went to Yale. It's
yeah.
not possible that he went to Princeton. The gig will be up. So I'm just like, I'm just not going to wear the hat. So you know what hat I do wear? I wear plain hats
That's
because
funny.
I'm just a plain guy.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I like the Rolling Stones logo, like the vibe of the
Hmm.
shirts, and they're very popular. They've made it into mainstream,
Pop
apparel.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've never purchased a Rolling Stones shirt until I went to a Rolling Stones concert. Like, I just feel like that's weird if you, I don't know, that's maybe just me, but I don't feel like if you haven't earned the shirt, you don't get to wear it. But maybe I'm unique in that perspective.
I could go grab my Rolling Stones shirt right now. Should I pop that on? Because you know what? The three of us went to a Rolling
We were
Stones concert
there.
together.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
right. We didn't go
Justin,
together. God.
what's your take on that? What do you
I,
feel like you have to earn the shirt first or what?
I definitely do, but I had to break the rules a little bit when I was in the '80s band. Uh,
Sure.
fortunately, a lot of the shirts I was wearing from '80s and some '90s, I had been to those concerts, but there were a few that I kind of broke the
Yeah.
rules a bit. Yeah.
But I guess that's you're playing a role, so that's permissible. It would just be, and it's a vibe and it's part of the brand. So that would be to me permission to wear it if you haven't been there.
Okay.
But just like getting a Princeton shirt, like why would I need a Princeton shirt other than it's just like, oh, you have a Princeton shirt, right? Like I'm like you, Mark, the gig is up. Like everybody know
Yeah.
very quickly I didn't go to Princeton. But
Because then they're going to say, oh, and how'd they do at the game this weekend? You're like,
you're like,
I
I
don't
don't.
know. Did they have a sports team? I don't know.
One thing I
But
noticed about going to the Rolling Stones concert and other concerts that I am there's a difference between radio fans and a real fan. And I I think I'm more of like a radio fan of I like music, but I am not I don't know everything about the artists or like the culture where there are some real fans out there and they don't like people like me that are radio
How can you tell the
yeah, that's
difference
Well,
from the?
because they'll say something about like the artist's like history. Like when we went to Tim McGraw, I really liked Tim McGraw. It's very nostalgic for me. I had all the albums and things like that. But then somebody was like, "Oh yeah, he just had back surgery," and I was like, "Nope." So then I'm like, oh, guess I'm a radio fan because I didn't know. I'm not a real fan, you know. I don't know. I don't follow like their life story. I don't know these cultural things about stuff. But there are some people who are really invested in artists and they know a lot about them. And I think you can tell when you go to a concert or a live event who the real fans are and who the radio fans are. That's totally my like phraseology, if you will. Like that's my made up term. I don't think that's real. But I'm like, I liked you on the radio. I don't know that I know about your real life. So
Right.
Well, from the artist perspective, I don't want to speak on behalf of all musicians, but from my perspective and the musicians I've worked with, I don't think we care.
okay.
I mean, we love it if people take the deep dive. It can be a little creepy if it goes too far, but we just want you to listen. Come hang out, watch the show, listen to the music. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the music. Yeah, it's about the art.
Yeah.
Um, Gosh, speaking of which, the book I just finished a book on the way here called Faith, Hope, and Carnage by Nick Cave. Well, it's him, Nick Cave, being interviewed, and it's all about his songwriting and his life, and he's an artist. He's a it's a book I recommend.
And what's the name of it?
Faith, Hope, and Carnage. It's
Ooh.
Yeah,
And
he's
explain to
obsessed
all of us
with
who Nick Cave is.
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. He's originally from Australia. He's been associated with the UK, and but his style of music. He's done a lot of scores for films, and but he's got a lot of albums, and he's also had some tragedies in his life.
Mm.
He's it talks a lot about religion, a lot about the death of one of his children and how that affected he and his wife.
Mm.
But what I loved about it was really how it all came back to the art. It all came back to the art. Everything was about how his experiences formed his songs.
That's when you go from turning your pain into purpose. And the
Yes.
difference between being in pain and going from pain to purpose is about the process that you go through to heal, because you will never get to a level higher than the level you're willing to heal. That's a great example. And a huge part of that is actually our topic for today. I would say probably one of the foundational levels, anyway, is forgiveness. What do you think?
I love it. However,
Amen.
should we start with your two POVs first as well? Where's Justin at, and where are you at? I
Yes,
don't
I
think
was
we
just
covered
going to
that.
for more discussion.
You were going to do that. Okay.
But before we get there, let's see what your POV is, Justin. What are you up to this week, and how are you impacting the world? What's going on in your world?
Today is day 8 in Morocco, and I'm going to take this opportunity on this podcast, and I'm just going to continue to do this. I'm just going to be vulnerable, which is uncomfortable for me because I'm like that guy that's always tried to look like I have everything together, and I'm just not going to do that anymore. It's exhausting. So the truth of the matter is, this has been a really challenging week, full of some highs and some lows. I arrived a week ago yesterday after 36 hours of travel, was taking a ride from Casablanca to Rabat. We ran into a wreck. The driving here is absolutely bonkers. The cab driver, I was like, hey man, he spoke very broken English, super nice guy, but was mostly French, Arabic, and German speaking. So I said, hey, is the driving, you guys kind of drive a little close, huh? And he's like, close? He goes, have you seen Mission Impossible? And I go, yeah. And there's a semi on each side of us. And he swerves over to the semi on his side and reaches out and touches the semi. And he goes, that's close, man. I go, yeah, that's pretty close, bro.
Was your adrenaline just like through the roof? Were you?
I was like falling asleep on the plane. on the way from Barcelona to Casablanca. And at that point, I was wide awake. And I thought, hey, I might die before I actually make it to where I'm headed, you know? So anyway, I got here, I got settled in. I am super blessed that I have a dear friend here and his family, and they have a really great place. And so it's great to have a familiar face and a place to like calm down and get grounded. But after I took my first shower and I looked at my backpack and I thought, I just watched my shoes and my clothes and my drums and my car and everything go away and my car drive off. And I was like, oh man, there's no going back, bro. You're here. You're doing it. And it took me a couple days to just get adjusted. There's some pretty heavy language barriers because it's mostly Arabic and French speaking. English is pretty broken. Luckily with technology, you know, I'm able to kind of get around. So the first few days, you know, trying to figure out how to buy groceries, signing up for a gym membership, how to order food at a restaurant, just really basic stuff that we super take for granted back home. Laundry, there's one washing machine, which is awesome, but then you hang your clothes out to dry. It's just everything is more effort than I was used to in the States, but I kind of love it. And I'm immersed in this whole new world, and people are very, very, very kind. It's very interesting. I'm learning a lot already. So that is what's up with me. Jessica, over to you.
Hold on, Justin.
Okay.
No, I would love to know what were the lows? What is it besides I don't have anything or there's no turning back? Like what be vulnerable. What is it that
Oh
you're really,
yeah.
what
Well,
are you really saying?
um, so it's lonely.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
My friend was here. You know, he has, like I said, wonderful family, a couple boys and his wife. They're all lovely, super lovely, and very fun and enjoyable to be around. But they were here for a couple of days, and then they went to Greece because they had a week off of work. And so I've had the place to myself, which is kind of nice because you have a little privacy and you're kind of getting settled in and going through your emotions by yourself. But lonely, you know, I'm walking everywhere. When I get to, here's an example. When I got to the grocery store, I walked in, I could read nothing. There's some pictures on some products. I knew, oh, that's produce, that's an apple, there's also things I don't know what they are. And I'm taking photos and asking ChatGPT and Google Translate, what is this stuff? And the first trip I was so overwhelmed that I didn't buy anything other than a bottle of spring water. And I go confidently to the checkout, and there was a guy in line, and he's like, in broken English, if you're wanting to pay with a credit card, it's broken. And so then I'm like trying to figure out the cash system here, which is called Dirham or MAD. So then I roll over to the cash line and I give the woman what's equivalent to like $100 for something that costs $1. Like I gave her like way too much money. And so she's kind of getting stressed, and she has to run out of line and go get that. And then people are waiting on me, and then one guy's speaking Arabic, she's speaking French. And I rolled out with like a bottle of water. And I was walking back and I was like kind of hungry, you know, and it was going to be 15 minutes back, get more cash, 15 minutes back into town, like a 30-minute round trip, and then go to a restaurant. And it just was like I said, it's a bit of a grind at first, and it's lonely. And also there's a lot of things I want to do with this journey. I want to learn and educate and dive into the culture and understand other people from other places. And I'm frustrated there's a lot of challenge there, learning how to get information out through social media. And I'm not an influencer. I'm not good at tech. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, basically. But it's important to me that I get these messages out. And so it's kind of that sink or swim vibe too. So there's like some fear. Like I want to just chill out and enjoy the ride. And I finally, the last couple of days, I've been able to do that. But for the first several days, I'm just like getting settled into basically it feels like a new planet where nobody understands anything. And what I will tell you is that the kindness that I was hoping to seek or see and find is the case. Like people are looking at me and they're like, you know what? This guy needs food. He needs water. He needs to figure out how to get some groceries. And it's been really eye-opening, man. People are very patient with me. And but the whole thing is just emotional, you know? Does that answer your question?
It does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hearing you talk was taking me back to when I went overseas during a semester abroad in college, and I went to China. Part of the trip was in China, and I got off the airplane, and it smelled like a spice cabinet, and I wasn't ready for the cultural sensory difference. Like the last thing I smelled was America, and then I get off and it's like it's not just different, but it smells different. Like the whole environment is different. And it smelled like my spice cabinet. And I was like, wow, this like burned in my senses forever. And then I went to make a phone call and I just started crying because even the operator was speaking Mandarin. And there's such a difference between speaking Mandarin in a classroom where your teacher is like, nope, that's not right. And speaking Mandarin on the streets of China and not hitting the mark, like it's not commuting. And so they just look at you like, can I touch your hair? Like that was like, they wanted to be with you. And they, I think it was weird to walk down the street and someone stop you and want to take a picture with you. Being a female in a foreign country is different probably than being a male in a foreign country. But man, that culture shock is so real, and the language barrier. But then behind that is just the humanity of people, that they see that you're different and they want to help you. And I don't know that we do such a great job the other way around stateside of helping people that are different from us, being as compassionate. I don't know, but maybe we're a little tone deaf there.
I need to step in here because that's one thing that's really been apparent to me the last week is, and I have nothing but there's a lot of things already that I feel so blessed about being from the U.S. and so many wonderful things there. But what's been a little hard for me to adjust is two different examples. One was I was in the gym, met this guy in the sauna. We start talking about traveling. He's a big time traveler. He invites me to lunch and takes me into what he calls Old Town, and we have this lunch, and he buys lunch, and I got in the car, and in the States, like we carry guns, and I'm in a foreign country. I don't know what is going on, and this guy bought my lunch, brought me back, dropped me off, and then yesterday, another manager of a food place just wanted to start telling me about his city not far from here, invited me. He's like, you have a free place to stay with me and my family. Was over the top helpful. And I'm like paranoid. I'm like, wait a minute, what's the catch? What's the catch here? Like, what do you want from me, dude? And I don't know. I'm already feeling like it should be a rite of passage to even graduate high school to have to go travel, because already you can't really pay attention when you're trying to like buy groceries and, like I said, everything, just basic stuff and find water. You're not worried about what's your skin color, what's your religion, what's your language. You're using sign language and stuff, and you're like, hey, how do we communicate? How do we make this transaction happen? And preferably in a pleasant way, So I don't know.
You're so right. And I got that lesson like reiterated to me last week when I fell. I fell and hurt my arm, and I needed help. And the thoughts that went through my brain asking for help wasn't, how does this person believe? What's their skin color? What are their prerequisites to spend time with me? What if I'm seen with them? None of those things came through my mind. The fact that I needed help, and the closest person to me that could provide that was all I cared about. And wow, have we lost that sense of humanity among like our brothers and sisters that we share life with, is that help and being human has been overshadowed with, does this person align with my beliefs? It's just, what you're saying is so real. And I've experienced it myself this week on another level, which is so interesting that you're all the way over there and then I'm all the way over here, and yet the experiences can be so similar.
I
That
was in
is
Princeton this morning.
what you just spoke to, Jessica. I think I've been feeling like that exact thing is a luxury, to be
Yeah.
able to go beyond basic needs and then start making getting preconceived notions or judgments. That's a luxury. And here right now, it's a grind. Like it's a hustle for me right now as a foreigner in a new land and not knowing anything about anything. Like I'm walking everywhere. I'm schlepping my groceries, and for me to stop and make judgments or any of that would be a complete luxury. Like it's going to take some time and then some deep conversations. And I'm already finding that what I sought out to do is already taking place, where I'm learning how people are connecting and how they're treating me, and I don't know, maybe different in different places. Maybe it's going to be less safe or more judgmental or whatever the case might be, but so far so good. So enough about
You're
me.
not you're not in a hurry, and we're in a hurry over here.
Dude, you
Everybody's
cannot be in a
busy.
hurry. Like I said, you have to. So when I did my laundry, it's sunny, it's warm, it's nice, it's beautiful. It's like high 70s, low 80s. I'm next to the Atlantic. There's a nice breeze. So you set your clothes outside to dry. Well, I left them out. I had seen the housekeeper do this, where she left them out for a couple days, the clothes for the family. Well, I did that one night, and the next morning it was cloudy and there was a bunch of moisture coming off the ocean. And so what would have been my dry underwear for the day are wet underwear now. So then my clothes have to spend all day drying. There is no hurry, where, at least from my perspective. People that know their way around here, they hurry, and the driving reflects the hurry, but I think it's even less hurried than there. I mean, people are sitting in a cafe and they're just sitting. They're looking. They're not on
Yeah.
phones. It's wild. And I'm only a week in.
I'm so glad that you're getting to experience this, and I'm fighting this feeling that says, like, me too, and I'm sharing an experience that I've had, but I can completely relate to you. I grew up out of the country. It was very common for us to dry our clothes on the line and then finish them in the dryer. And then when we went to Japan, my host family was like, just so you know, we don't have a dryer, so you'll have to dry your clothes on the line. Then they have one, but they only use it for fluffing, like just very sparingly. But then when we had our dryer broke one time, it was going to be a month for the part to come out. My entire day changed. Everything changed. My priority was get up early, get a load of laundry washed and get it out on the line before the sun comes up in the backyard so I could maximize the drying time. And this is for like 5 people. And I felt like a pioneer woman. I was kind of like emboldened by it and like, yeah, like go me, but all day, every day for a month or longer revolved around the schedule of how I could prioritize getting laundry done, because I never knew when it was going to be a cloudy day or when it was not. So I had to be prepared so that if the weather changed, I wasn't dependent on it. And my mom said to me when I was a young mom, she said, sweetheart, don't be disillusioned that you don't have any help, because you have more help than most people have. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, you have built in what once was servants, like, cleaners, helpers, whatever, has been replaced with modern appliances. So you have a dishwasher that's a maid, you have a washing machine that's a maid, you have a dryer that's a maid. Your job's to tell them what to do and give them their jobs to do. If you don't tell them what to do, they won't do it. And so she taught me how to manage my home with with the modern conveniences that we take so for granted. And it's like we have this unnecessary overwhelm when we're really just not putting to work the things that we have access to in a meaningful way. So then we become complacent, lazy. We get behind the ball on that one for sure. But
Yeah. Well, I hope I
What's
didn't
your
take too much time
POV?
with my answer to your question, Mark, but that's what's going on.
No, your answer. We got nothing but time here.
yep. So my POV for the week has been parent teacher conferences. That's been interesting.
Hmm.
Fall party planning. I'm in charge of the fall festival at school this year for October 31st. And I'm also planning a murder mystery party at my own home for the same day. So how I'm going to pull that one off is going to be super interesting. And I still have a busted arm, so I'm learning how to slow down and make a plan and plan the work and then work the plan and ask for help, which is difficult for me to do. And it challenges me in a different way. I feel what surfaced for me when I hurt myself was that I found myself apologizing for inconveniencing other people that I needed help. And I hate that part when it comes out, but it always reveals those little pieces of me that are still unhealed, that felt like needing something was an inconvenience. And so I'm like being gentle with myself right now and saying it's okay to need help and to practice asking for help. And when people say, how can I help, to actually give them something to help with instead of I'll let you know, because I won't actually let you know. So when people ask, what do you need? I try to think of something to tell them, whether it's, I would love it if you would pray for me, or I would love you to check in on me in a couple days and see what's on the to-do list. On my planning committee, I actually tasked out a couple of the things that I was going to do myself, and I just gave them to other people to do. And mostly because I'm a coordinator, so it's my job to do those things. But then I realized, like, who says it's your job? Your job is to make sure that the job gets done. So who can do that for you? And so it's just like ways of stretching my own brain and being comfortable and reminding myself that it's okay to take things slow, which is something I also feel like I should have already figured out by this time. But I think you guys would agree that as you go through life, the funniest thing is that it's a new, as they say, a new level, a new devil. So something you may have mastered at level 3, when you go to level 4, it presents as something different. And so you have to relearn the lesson, or you have to learn it again, applied to a different stage or season of life with different circumstances. So once again, circling back to asking for help, leaning in on my team, being okay, letting things go, and doing what I can. So it's a very full season. October, November, those are pretty full on the calendar year, like the school calendar of events and things to show up to. And so that pretty much is a lot of car line and party planning for me this week.
You always stay super busy. I don't know how you
Yeah, you
juggle it
do.
all, but you do a good job of it.
Thank you for that. I think that is a skill set that I like that I stay full, but I do have to make sure that it's meaningful busy, not just busy. I actually kind of have a problem with that word. I try to find a different word for it because busy seems chaotic to me versus I'm very there's stuff to be done. I'm definitely not type A. I've just learned that the only thing you can scale is strategy. And so you can't really scale, I guess you can scale chaos, but you're not going to get anywhere. So I'm very strategic in my busy work. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. By the way, if you guys see me tipping up a bottle, it's just mineral water. So, you know how I like to hydrate. So if you see me,
Yes.
it looks like a wine
Hydrate,
bottle, but
hydrate,
it's
hydrate.
water.
So the topic that we pulled for this week was to talk about the impact of forgiveness. And we've kind of touched on it, and organically our conversation has led to a full season for all of us, like learning new things and doing new things. And I have personally seen a huge connection between my ability to take on new things, my capacity for new things is directly dependent on the space, brain space, emotional space that I have to commit to that. And so growing to the next level for me has always been about first clearing space, create space for what you want to exist. And a big part of that is creating emotional and mental space And the only thing that seems to clear space for me is forgiveness. And working through the things that are incomplete for me in my life, I always have to start there first. And forgiveness, I think, is something, or let me say this, not forgiving others is a luxury we've become accustomed to. Like, well, I can just write them off. I can move somewhere. I can kick them out of my life, or I can use the phrase boundaries and put up a wall and separate from them. But you still carry the bitterness in your heart, and it still weighs on you emotionally. And I think personally that a lack of forgiveness blocks you from accessing your next level, because you won't have the bandwidth or the space to fully go in, to feel vulnerable, to be open, because you're still triaging or trying to protect yourself from repeating pain again. Does that make sense? So for me, forgiveness is like an essential part to new experiences, is completing the pain of the past so you can be open to the possibilities of the future and feel the fullness of the present moment. And without forgiveness, I personally have not found another way to experience life to its fullest without forgiveness being part of that. So I thought that would be a really good topic for us to talk about, the impact of forgiveness in our life, to be both forgiven and to forgive other people. What do you guys think about that?
I love it. Let's dive in.
Well, I can tell you, it's been a common theme in my life. Um, I, I'd say especially over the past 8 years, maybe longer. Um, I'd come to realize that there was people in my life that I had done just that. I had moved on, or so I thought. I
Mm.
had I thought I'm going to take the high road. Um, I'm I'm better than not to forgive. I'm called to forgive. My religion calls me to forgive. Um, the Lord's Prayer. It's about I can only be forgiven as much as I forgive others, and so I think in a theoretical way, maybe even in a intellectual way, I know what it means to forgive, and that means I'm not holding on to anything.
Mm.
Um, but I wasn't able to forget, and whenever I whenever I was reminded of that person, I realized it did something to my body. Like I, I immediately felt a certain level of tension. It usually is within my gut. It's my stomach would feel it, and I would feel a stress, or I'd feel a tension, an uneasiness, and I'd also feel. Here's how I ultimately realized I didn't actually forgive. It's because I thought I was better. I thought I thought I was it was kind of an ego thing. Like I thought in an like in an arrogant way, I've forgiven in this very boisterous sort of way. I've forgiven. And it never was really it wasn't. I come to realize, no, I didn't. I just moved on. I just left the situation, or I left them. And I felt like, oh, I had done everything I can. I had tried. I tried. I'm not sure that they tried. And we just couldn't get to a resolution. We couldn't really get to a proper conclusion. Um, and
There
I
was no
realized that there was no what?
there was no completion.
yeah, I was just going to say there was no finality to it. Like it wasn't, I didn't have peace. I didn't really have peace. I was just separate from that person. And there wasn't a calm in me. There wasn't a peace in me. And ultimately, I don't know that I truly had love for them.
Mm,
I tried to manufacture this feeling of love. And so there was one or two people that I felt that way about. Two people would often come back to me. They were, you know, heck, I'll just say it. It was my ex-wife. It was my ex-business partner.
mm,
And in both cases, we had long lasting time together. These were in both situations. These were not short-lived relationships. These were, I was married almost 27 years. And I was in business with my partner for 22 years. Um, and they ended, and they didn't, I mean, they're endings, they're divorces, and those aren't pleasant on any level, even though you try hard to do them well.
mm-hmm,
And we did, and I think we did as well as we could. Um, but I didn't have forgiveness, and I didn't realize that until in Steve's case, I didn't have it for. It took me 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years to realize it. Um, and in my with Allison, it was, it's been 8 years, and I when I realized it, I made a commitment. I made a decision that I will not have this in my life anymore. I won't have people in my life anymore that I've not forgiven. So if I recognize it, I'm going to be intentional about it, and I'm going to address it. And I did. I did in both of those cases, and they both went well. They were well received because part of it was I needed to apologize. I needed to start with an apology to say I thought that I did this, but I
mm,
didn't, and I've been carrying a bitterness. I've been carrying, and by the way, I'm sorry. So and by the way, I I do forgive you. I
mm,
that when I made that decision before I even talked to them, I made the decision. I forgive them, and I felt it this time. I said it out loud. I spent time with it. I thought about it. I thought about all of it, everything about the relationship and how we got to that point. And I realized, okay, I now I know, and what I know is I need to forgive. I'm not above it. I'm not better. I'm not. It always takes two to get to that place, and so and I'm doing that with all my existing relationships. I that those were two extreme examples, but there's other cases where it's like, yeah, I'm as certain relationships either drifted apart or they had some sort of ending, and I realized though they weren't as the relationships weren't as intense and weren't as involved and weren't as intimate, there was still something that happened. Somebody hurt my feelings. Somebody offended me. And rather than address it, or so I thought I tried to address it, I just sort of moved on or I left. And I've decided I don't want to, I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't want to live my life in a life of unforgiveness. And I want to be sure that if I know about offenses that I've made on people, if I think I've ever hurt anyone, I am very proactive about reaching out to those people and saying, hey, by the way, I'm not sure if you were hurt by this, but I know that I feel like I might have hurt you.
mm.
And and I want to put that out there and give you an opportunity to say so. But I want you to know from me, I'm sorry because I know it wasn't the best version of myself.
A couple of
Yeah.
things that you said there that I really loved was that, and for those listening, and you guys know that as a grief specialist, this is big piece of the equation for healing, for dealing and processing with emotion and loss, and is the forgiveness piece. And you said something that was really, profound, is that you forgave, or what you intellectualize as forgiveness, you didn't feel in your heart and didn't forget either, right?
Correct.
And that is where a lot of people get hung up, is that I can forgive you, but I can't forget. And therefore, there's a layer that they never release, because your brain is hardwired to be like, don't ever repeat this pain again. So the forgiveness, or the forgetting part, is almost like, I can't forget and I don't want to forget because I don't ever want to feel that way. And that becomes this low level residual reminder that they hurt you.
Right.
And forgiveness isn't the absence of the thing. It's not like we're trying to erase something from happening. It's that we're releasing the hold that that has on us. We're equipping ourselves for the future so we can move forward in life, not constantly be reminded about the past, right? We can look at the past for clues, but we don't want to use the past to prevent us from a possibility in the future. And so, and then the other thing that you said there that was really great was that you decided. I don't know if you guys have ever studied the etymology of that word, but go look it up. It's really fascinating. But choices is like, literally, I can choose to forgive you. It's like multiple choice. You can change your mind anytime you want. But when you decide, it literally means to cut out the past and to like make something new. So you set apart and you said, I'm deciding to forgive you, is a decision. Your brain loves decision. It hates choices. Did you know that? when you
I
make a
did not know that.
decision, when you make a decision, it changes everything for you. It's like people who say, I'd like to lose weight, and then the people who decide to lose weight, very, very different. Very, very different. And
Mm,
so I love that you said that, as decide to. And I really resonated with the manufactured feelings of, maybe it's masking, maybe it's just I don't know any different. But the biggest piece is like, I thought I forgave you, and then the awareness that there's still a layer that I haven't forgiven. So forgiveness, I believe, happens in these layers. And so I can forgive the initial injury, but as I move through life and I discover areas that aren't healed yet, I'm still responsible for going back and doing the work to forgive what I've now's come to light. And it sounds like that's what you were doing, is like, I maybe forgave enough to move on, like to get out of crisis mode. But when I started exploring life on a new level, it revealed some things that were maybe not forgiven. And I love that awareness is always going to be the first step to forgiveness, is the awareness that in fact there is something unhealed here. And what you said was so beautiful about the process of forgiveness, and I just love it. I really resonated with it a lot.
well, there's a part of this that I forgot, and you reminded me of it, and that is when I said I thought I was going to rise above it, or I was moving beyond it. Really, what was happening there is um, I had to acknowledge that what was actually happening there, when I thought I'm making this, I'm being strong, and
Oh,
that's through
yeah.
my strength I'm rising above it. But really what was happening is I was hurt, and I did not want to acknowledge that I had been hurt by these people or hurt by anybody. Um I and I didn't want, because what I was saying was, you have power.
Yes.
You had the power to hurt me. And that vulnerability, I guess I wasn't in a place to acknowledge it and to
Mm,
say it, and or to keep saying it, to keep
mm,
saying, you're hurting me, or you keep hurting me. Um, there was a softness to that, and um, a vulnerability to it, and an intimacy to it that I couldn't handle. I couldn't handle it. I needed to be stronger. I needed to be better. And then I realized, oh, it's not that's simple. It's
Yeah.
not about it's not about strong or weak. It's even not about hurt or hurt or whatever the opposite of hurt is. um, um, but I didn't want. I knew I didn't want to. I knew that through my hurt, I didn't want to try to hurt back.
Yeah.
That or and so I chose not to attack or fight. I just chose to step away, step back, and step away from it. And in fact, maybe just maybe I thought maybe by my stepping away, I will hurt them back. Maybe if I just leave,
Mm-hmm.
that could be the ultimate hurt. Or it'll show that they didn't care in the first place. They won't miss me. They won't they won't care. They'll be glad that I made that decision because they didn't want me in their lives in the first place. There was a lot that got me to this place, and realizing it all um, tore me up. It
Yeah.
tore me up because I knew it wasn't the man I wanted to be. Not now, anyway. And I know I did my best then, but I wasn't necessarily being as strong as I thought I was.
And don't
So,
you think there's a part that now that you're aware of what you're aware of, right? So you didn't know better when you didn't do better. But now that you're aware that you can do better and you went back and you did better, now you need to forgive that version of yourself that made those mistakes too, right?
that's the big one. Yeah, and all of
Yeah.
this ultimately. Here's the cliff notes are, or the moral to the story is, it's forgiveness of self. If we
Mm-hmm.
don't forgive ourselves first and foremost, we are not going to forgive others. And I know that there's a lot of that pain that was going on inside of me. Is I'm, you know, perhaps I'm not even worthy of forgiveness,
Mm.
and thoughts like that. So yeah, this is a interesting topic for me, especially over this past year. This past year is when all of this came to me, um, in a really big way, to the
Mm.
point where this is my life's purpose now. This is my life's mission. Is that I'm going to make sure that every person that I come in contact with, including the people from my past, as I remember them, I want to ask, "Are we good?
Mm.
Are we good? Have I let you know that I'm sorry, or have I said I'm sorry, or have I said have I forgiven you?" That's
Mm.
that's really the place I want to be in life. Is that I want to be at peace with the people, um, and I think it
That's
often
powerful.
starts with that. Yeah.
Justin, what are your thoughts on it? I happen to know a behind the scenes curtain, and something we've talked about a lot is forgiving ourselves. We're forgiving, but what are your reactions to what we said, and what is forgiveness, the role that forgiveness has played on your life?
You guys definitely hit on it at the end. Uh, Without divulging too much, but I'll divulge some. My formative years, there was the environment I grew up in was quite tumultuous at times, and there were some different things that happened to me in my youth. And one of the most profound of those was my parents divorced when I was one, and my mom remarried by the time I was about two, to a really great man who I still consider my dad today. They didn't get along the best, which lent to some volatility and was challenging. But there was also this estranged relationship between my biological father and I. In fact, just a couple years ago, I saw him for the first time in 27 years.
Mm.
And as I've grew into an adult, it's surprising to me how many people have daddy issues. Girl, male or female, doesn't matter. And I wanted to forgive, and mostly I was really pissed off at a lot of different situations. And for whatever reason, it boiled down to, again, like Mark said, forgiveness of self. And so what it was is I didn't love myself. And I,
Mm.
definitely have this, this what did you call it? Performance driven. What do you call that?
Performance driven behavior, where you've equated your value to the what you do, not who you are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my way to outrun the lack of forgiveness and love that I had for myself. And so no matter what
Do more.
therapy I tried or
Yeah.
what,
So if I could just do more, be more, then I'll be lovable. But if I don't do all these things, then I'm not lovable. It's not me that makes me lovable. It's what I do for others or what I do in the world that makes me lovable.
I think it was that. And so what happens is I was in this cycle of trying to outperform myself and everyone else to make myself lovable, and also to outrun the lack of love and forgiveness I had for myself. And that ultimately caused more hurt for other people, for then it caused me more work in which I've had to go back and retrace and be like, I apologize. I was in a really self-centered state. Like
Mm-hmm.
not being selfish to the extent where you work on personal forgiveness, and selfishness where you fill your own cup mentally, spiritually, physically, and so forth. You, I think, have a tendency to become selfish in a way that hurts others. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you have to work here first on yourself. And I didn't make much headway on forgiveness until I finally was okay with the guy in the mirror. And that's a constant ongoing thing. I mean, it's all the time. It took me about 2 years to get where I could look at myself in the mirror. Even I noticed somebody
Mm-hmm.
said to me, hey, you need to start looking at yourself in the mirror. And you look at yourself and brush your teeth and fix your hair and stuff like that, but to like really look at the person that's looking back at you, and then to graduate to, hey man, how you doing? I like that person, or I even, love you or whatever. And that's super awkward stage to get through. But I had to sort of methodically grind away at each of those stages. And then when I was good with me, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm all right. I'm a pretty good, I like me. And so I don't deserve to feel this angst or lack of forgiveness for others, like all the scores I'm keeping with everyone else and the scores they're keeping with me. Cause like, I don't deserve that, cause I'm better than that. I care about this person now more, and I want that person in the mirror to be happier. And so then I started really working on me and then getting good with me, and then methodically going through the forgiveness process of any kind of angst I had with others. And that's an ongoing process, obviously, as well. But part of it is when you're okay with you, then then it kind of doesn't matter if you can forgive others, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to forgive you back. You
True.
can
Right.
apologize and really, you want to even the score and you want everything copacetic and happy, but it's not. I've found, unfortunately, there's times I've tried to ask for forgiveness and I've in turn forgiven, and maybe they still are cool with holding a grudge, or they don't want to have closure perhaps. So that's my journey. My journey is just trying to get better with me and work on forgiving others. And then really hard part is accepting the fact that not everybody's going to be cool with me or forgive me. I'm going to do my best, be the best person I can. But at the end of the day, they may not forgive me, and they may not even forgive me till death do us part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my jam is, again, just trying to be selfish in a healthy way, where I'm good
Mm-hmm.
with me, and then working on that outward forgiveness.
Yep.
And there's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. And so there may be reconciliation is kind of like step two, and it doesn't always happen and shouldn't be seen as a sign of forgiveness. So I personally like mush those two together. And because of there was one particular moment in my life where I was walking down a hallway at my mom's house, and I'd come home to visit, and I was ruminating over some situations in my mind, and I was patting myself on the back, and I was like, you are so good. I mean, look at how good you're doing, like being here with this person in the room. Like, what a privilege for them to get to spend time with you after all the wrong they've done. Like, you are such the bigger person. Similar to what you said, Mark. And it's hard to say that, but I was really giving myself a pep talk. Like, you've grown. I'm so proud of you. You've grown so much to like the point that you could be, positive in this room with this person here, and that you don't have any negative feelings. You're not getting all tore up emotionally about it. You're just so neutral. Like, good for you. Like, what a good thing you've done, right? And then the Holy Spirit really convicted me and was like, not so sure that you're doing as good as you think you are. Because it was that moment of like just humility. Like, you, even on your best day, Jessica, you are still in need of copious amounts of grace. Even on your best day, it's still not good enough. Like, who are you to measure what someone else is good enough to be around you is? Like, that is not what it's about. And I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or anybody that would be listening, but for me and what I needed in that moment, it was a huge humility moment of, it is not my job to score other people's performance in my life, nor is it for me to be proud of how much I can tolerate of the people that are quote unquote unlovable. That is not a that is not like a score that I need to be keeping. And I had to really I had to discover another level of healing where I wasn't looking for performance from them to earn my presence. And that I was reflective over what reconciliation really looked like, because the current circumstances did not permit reconciliation. But prior to that moment, I'd kind of smushed the two together, and I'd seen that, well, if I've forgiven you, then I should be okay to spend time with you, and we should just go on like nothing's wrong. But that was creating a scorekeeper mentality for me, that I was like, well, are you doing your part to be in this relationship? Are you doing enough? Are you doing enough? And then I was feeling like the bigger person. And the reality of it is that reconciliation could not happen in that situation because the other person was not able to do that. And I can truly say that today with grace, with gratitude, that relationship served the reason and the season, but those things have both passed now, and I don't need to have them integrated into my life. There doesn't need to be reconciliation for forgiveness to be there and for us to be at peace with one another. So I no longer have to score where they're at in their own journey. Does that make sense? I'm feeling like that makes me sound really bad right now, but I think we all do it, where we look at other people and we score how they're doing on their healing journey as an indicator of whether or not we should hang with them anymore. And relieving myself of that was just like, I forgive you, and I wish you well. Good journey, my friend, and just being able to be completely neutral, where their behavior, you don't change your behavior based on them. You just continue to be who you are and be a light to the world. And so I did have to, forgiveness has meant a lot of different things to me, including forgiving myself, like you guys both mentioned. But it's something that is I don't believe that we ever reach the finish line on that process. I think it is it's a continuum, and it is something we have to stay in a state of forgiveness. I think we have to practice it daily. It's one of the foundational things that I teach in workshops, is that you have to practice forgiveness. It's a practice, not an act. Does that make sense? It's not like a one and done. It's a practice of forgiveness, living a life that practices forgiveness. That means you're going to get it wrong sometimes. It's not a performance that you nail and put in the bank. It is a practice, which means you have to have grace and abundant grace at that. But mostly you just have to be committed to continue to do it every single day. So.
Amen. I wonder,
Amen.
you're so good you're kind of the more educated one as it comes to tools and tactics in this particular arena, because I obviously have leaned into your systems and education a lot, which has been completely life-changing in all the best ways. In the time we have left, I just wonder if you could drop you do some mic drops here on the audience, on someone that's out there that's gone through what
Mhm.
any one of our perspectives, that relates to Mark or myself or you, and they want to be courageous and embark on the journey of the forgiveness process for themselves and others, what are some basic baby step places to start?
Mm. My favorite when people are starting their forgiveness journey or their healing journey, which all healing starts with a level of acceptance and forgiveness, is to inventory your life. So I would put you in the middle, and then I would do an inventory, and I'd ask yourself 3 questions. What do you wish was better, more, or different in your life? And make an inventory of that. And then I would look for, maybe it's like, I wish I had more money, or I wish I had a better relationship, or I wish I had a better job. Let's do that. I wish I had a better job. Well, then I would ask yourself, what do you wish was better, more, or different about your job? And then who are the people in your job that you feel like you hold back from when you're around them? Because what we're looking for is a timeline of incomplete relationships, because we are all connected by what we share and exchange in life, that the most tiniest moment could change someone's life forever and you wouldn't even know it. For example, one time I walked into a Lowe's and I witnessed a man die. He had had an episode in the Lowe's aisle and they were doing compressions on him. So I was walking on my way back to the back to get some project wood for a deal we were doing at home, and I turned the corner and I'm like just in my face. Someone pushes me back into the corner and I'm like, what's going on? And they said, you have to stay in the aisle. And I could see the man's legs like flailing as they're compressing him, and he
Ooh,
was dead. That
ooh,
man,
man.
that was like a split second, but it created an incomplete. There's a wall in my house that I can't walk by and not think of that man and his family, because that's the wood I bought to make that wall.
Mm.
So we don't know who in our lives impacts us, or it's not the time that someone's a part of your life. It's the impact they make on your life. So don't overlook anybody. It could have been a small little moment where someone told you something a long time ago that you need to release that person, because instead of hearing that person, you took on that statement. You made it part of your identity, which has shaped everything that you are. So inventory of the things you wish were better, more, or different is the place I like everybody to start. And then from there, identifying the relationships that feel incomplete for you. Where is there a lot you would change about that relationship given space and time? And then from there, it's a process, but those are really good places to create the foundation, which is awareness that in fact work needs to be done. Most people are in denial that work even needs to be done. They're saying, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And right now I'm doing a really good job keeping a lid on it. And I don't want to, our whole world's full of toxic positivities. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's working for you, just leave it alone. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's a can of worms I don't want to open. Like there's just a lot of excuses and permission to stuff it instead of deal with it. And so that is creating an inventory is the place I would tell everybody to start.
And is that step, the creation of the inventory, is that the step on how they bring awareness to the things that might be conscious or subconscious that are ailing them in some way?
Yeah. Yeah. They're holding you back.
Okay.
Anytime that you're living life and the past shows up and hijacks the present moment, you got work to do. So if you're walking along and all of a sudden you're back when you're 10 years old and someone was yelling at you, you got work to do, my friend. So my saying is, don't allow the past, the pain of the past, to steal your present and rob you of your possibilities for the future. And so statistically speaking, when we think of thought, 90% of the things we think about the past, we think about are not fond memories. They're painful experiences. And 90% of the things we think about the future are not plans, dreams, their fears and anxieties. So all we really have is this present moment where we are in touch with what's actually happening, not what we're afraid of is going to happen or what we remember happened the last time. So it's really about staying present with now and making sure we clean up enough of that pain of the past that it's not being intrusive on your present and stealing your future.
Boom. I knew you were going to throw in some
Boom.
mic drop stuff. We need to have like one of those
Mhm.
sound bites, like
Oh, yeah.
one of
Yes.
those deals.
So the
Boom.
sound effects in post-production.
Yeah.
So wrap up final thoughts, guys, on forgiveness. What's your one takeaways that you think you could tell somebody to do? In 1 minute or less, what is your takeaways on forgiveness?
Do it.
Mine is to start the way that I was able to start making headway on loving myself is I started keeping promises to myself, like micro promises.
Yes.
Like if you're not accountable to yourself, like you can't be accountable to anyone else, family, friends, it
Right.
doesn't matter, employer. So when I would say to myself, I'm going to go to the gym today, or I'm going to eat clean today, or I'm going to drink this much water, I'm not going to drink booze, and when you break that promise to yourself, you're like, yeah, you're just a liar, dude. Yeah, whatever, man. You don't deserve anything. You don't deserve love. So for me, pick something small, whatever it is. I'm going to drink 1 glass of water today. It could be that simple. Drink that glass of water, pat yourself on the back, be like, all right, I trust this person. I can trust this person. I can start to cultivate some love maybe with this person as well. Micro promises. That's my number one.
Yeah, because if you don't trust yourself, you're not going to trust other people. When people tell me they have trust issues, I'm like, yeah, that's because you don't trust yourself because you have a habit of breaking promises to yourself.
Yep.
Mark, what do you got for us?
I'm trying to. So when I came to this place, when I came to this realization, I've not entirely forgiven, and I've not forgiven. The feeling it had over me was a shame and embarrassment, but more it was a determination to be rid of it. Like
Mm,
I can do something about this. Like it's not too late. And because what had happened was as I've these past few years, I've made some various life changes, and I have I, I've been I have lots of friends, I have lots of acquaintances, and they're at various levels. Some are I social I have these social interactions with folks, or I have and what's happened is as I've made some choices about the direction of my life and wanting to do more. I have more projects. I have more work. Um, I have less time for some of those people, and so I've just sort of I'm like the truck backing up, boop boop boop, until I back up far enough and long enough until I just disappear. And I realized, oh, I didn't really have any closure with some of those folks. And why was it so easy to end those relationships or walk away from those relationships? And it goes back to the same thing, like, well, we weren't really that close, or it usually ended up, it was people that hurt me, right? It was people that hurt me. And I was like, I'm not going to shy away from saying that anymore. Like I'm going to say I think what it was a promise to be truthful to myself. I'm going to be truthful to my authentic self, even if it's embarrassing. And with that commitment, I said, I'm going to let people know if something they did hurt me. And I'm also going to forgive them in the process. And I have tried to do that with casual relationships. I've tried to do that with longer relationships. Could be smart back, family, friends, going way back, and so I think it was who is it? It's being more comfortable with myself. Like goes back to loving myself, accepting myself, and all my weaknesses, or all of my foibles, or all my blemishes, um, and so I'm not even sure if that makes sense. Were you tracking with me on that? Like it came down to
Yeah.
as I'm trying to be real and authentic, I'm being truthful about times of hurt. And when I'm truthful about that, then I have to say to somebody, "You've hurt me," number one. And number two, "I forgive you." Whether they want, whether they offer an apology or not, I'm going to say that. You've
Mm.
offended me, because I don't want to carry that burden. I don't want to have that bitterness in me, and I don't want others to have it as a result of me. Like, I want to offer that invitation to, let's, like, tell me if I've hurt you. Let me know, because I don't want that either. I don't want to. I don't want. I don't want to live my life thinking that that I've not been forgiven. Um, and that was that again. That was a big part of it. Was in going to in this journey so far. As I've gone to people, I've said, I've come to learn a lot about myself over these past few years. And one of the things is that, oh, I probably wasn't that easy to live with. I probably wasn't as great or as perfect as I thought I was. And it's a two-way street, and it goes both ways. And I'm sorry, in a way that I didn't even realize before. I didn't even know at that time that I needed to be forgiven, or I would say I'm sorry to people when I realized I probably did something that could have hurt somebody. I've done that, um, and yet I'm not sure that I would have been forgiven in those moments. I don't know, but so I want to go back and say, hey, by the way, am I forgiven? I said I was sorry, but am I? So it's complicated. That's one
You
thing.
know,
It's really not. It's not easy. It's not easy for me uh, to fully understand it.
the last, as the designated host of the day, as we wrap up today, I would say to everyone, find a forgiveness buddy. So you guys know I like my Bible, and there's a verse in James that says, "Confess your sins to one another, and then immediately pray for each other, so that you might be forgiven." And part of this journey they don't prepare you for is when you let go of bitterness with someone else that you've trauma bonded with someone about. So, like, say, we love you, Mark, but say Justin and I share my hurt. Say you hurt me, Mark, and I share my pain with Justin. And Justin, because he is my friend, he becomes secondarily offended by you, right? Because you hurt me, who's his friend. And then I decide to forgive you. But because I shared all that with Justin, Justin now has to forgive you too. But that's hard. And when
Mm,
you change the rules of we now like this person or we've forgiven this person and the other person doesn't want to let go of that, that's hard. And that can change relationships too. And so don't be surprised when you start your journey of forgiveness that it makes other relationships uncomfortable too. And
mm,
you need to give yourself permission to move forward anyway and to be forgiving of them if they're not ready to forgive either, right? And so find yourself that person who wants to hear your forgivenesses and to be with you in that journey, and be gracious with one another as you learn what forgiveness looks like and who's ready to move on and who's not.
Good stuff.
it
That's
is
a
good
great
stuff.
point.
All right, thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Big Ideas. And this big idea was on the strategy of forgiveness and loving each other and giving ourselves permission to grow and evolve. So we hope you get some takeaways. Hope you'll let us know in the comments and join us next week when I am not your host and Mark is. I just nominated you to be the host for next week's episode. So get ready.
Tag, you're
All
it.
right. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
See ya. Ciao. Arrivederci.